coming and going and ongoing currently. So I'm mostly studying, and sometimes I do upload videos, but it has been very hard for me to constantly do so. So I'll just show you me studying. That shall do, right? Okay, thank you. And before I do study, let me show you someone. She's there. She's there. Wow, she's just. You see her? She's so pretty. She's just lying there, lying down there, right? Yeah. Now let's just watch me study, okay? Yeah. And while I study, you can study with me. Keep me on the screen. I'm studying here. You study there, like an influence, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, the revised controlling distances affects 1 to 3 year developing population according to a recent EU performance stress by direction association with non-community disease section 50 basically and cardiovascular. Presently, this disease accounts for 18% of national healthcare budget. This is according to WHO prevalence. This disease will increase during the coming decade. The term first has been derived from the stranger that is Latin means spiritual tongue. Astra became a very common use term in every context for the skill, workplace, daily life, etc. Do you think these people who say that they are spiritual experiences in their life? Careful, in the 17th century, it's frequently used in Asian classrooms. While individual during the range which is deemed to be described using the term of pressure, strain, the voice, coordinating food and onion and civilization, conceptualization of stress, man the focus on stresses and extreme stimulus. Though later it came to be described as a response of an individual to certain disturbances. The study carried out by Kinan can be mentioned in the context where he mainly studied the fight and flight reaction. The focus of the study by Kinan was on the effect the stress has on animals with human. Kinan also observed physiological change in the perception of his story and he attributed these changes as displayed by individual to stress. Harmful and analytically described stress as a response of the body to certain demand that is made from it. And he further stated that this response was non-specific when it had been 898 has the first process on which environmental events or forces called stresses causing an organism may be similar well-being. Stephen and 1986. Defense stresses are a result of mind, body, and response to demands made on them. Both the above definitions state the demand and an individual subscribes to the same as the own eyes. Here is their response to the individual. There is the first definition focuses only on body. The second definition brings in the important aspects of mind, implying that stress is a response of both body as well as mind. Structural as 2016 defines stress as the body's reaction to a change that requires a physical, mental, or emotional response to response or response. This definition has further elaborated the response is playing physical, mental, and emotional nature. The other definition mainly looked at stress from a Western perspective. It was described If we spread stress from an Eastern perspective, it denies absence to lack of inner peace. See what is important. And thus, the stress management technique would also aid in achieving the inner peace. Great and Zimbabwe to run fire is not stress as a stimuli event. Stimulus, even the place demand organized for some kind of adaptation response. At a given point of time, an individual may have various stresses in his or her life. It could be an upcoming social event, particular event, impending report, examination, the stress can also be described as very external and internal stimuli that may lead to stress. Stress can be categorized into physical, psychological, environmental, social, and as well as life events. Stress can also be described as reducing international that might lead to stress can be characterized as physical, physiological, environment, social, as life events. Stresses could range from adjusting to change, financial issues, and problems. Life events like separation, divorce, to death. If a loved one managing varied roles and responsibilities, facing frequent changing situations, even technological change and development. Nature of stress. Stress is a reaction to change. It can either be positive or negative, and it affects both the body and the mind. Normally, stress is the release of hormones such as adrenaline, quickening the heart rate, accelerating the metabolism, and generally preparing the body for emergency action. Whether or not the opportunity for action existing, stress can destroy a promising academic station, not only killing the joy of learning, but seriously affecting a student's general health and scholarly performance. And recognizing the source and effect of stress as early as possible is crucial to coping with it. Stresses like such is like salt and paper, and life without stress would be the motivation. As stress often motivates us to work in certain direction, there is no stress in life, and an individual will not be motivated to perform or carry out varied activities, as most salt and alcohol can make food taste bad. In a similar manner, stress beyond optimal level can have a negative effect on the individual and will interfere with his or her day-to-day functioning. Types of stress. Stress can be categorized in different types is follow. A stress. A stress means beneficial stress, either psychological, physical exercise, or biochemical, radiological homeostasis. Biochemical, radiological homeostasis. Okay. The term was coined by endocrinologist Hans Selye, consisting of the Greek prefix "eu", meaning good, and stress, which means to stress. Is a positive cognitive response to stress that is healthy or gives one a feeling of fulfillment or either positive feeling. So, Slade praised the term as subgroup of stress to differentiate the wide variety of stresses and manifestation of stress. Each stress is not defined by the stressor type, but rather how one perceives that stress. Example, a negative threat is a positive challenge. A risk refers to a positive response one has to a stressor. One's current feelings of control, desirability, location, and timing of the stress. Potential indicators of a stress may include responding to a stressor with sense of meaning, hope, or regress. Stress has also been positively correlated with life, satisfaction, and well-being. Distress, any kind of information or sensory stimulus that is perceived as unimportant or Inconsequently, distress, the unfavorable or negative interpretation of an event, real or imagined, to be threatening that promotes continuous feeling of fear or anger, more commonly known as simply as stress. Mere stress. Distress. Distress is a state of emotional suffering associated with stressors and demands that are difficult to cope with in daily life. The lack of effective care for and difficulty in identifying psychological distress is frustrating for patients and health professionals alike. Hyperstress. Hyperstress refers to extreme mental or psychological strain that an individual may feel and overwhelmed by work or responsibility. While not harmful in short-term episodes, it can contribute to various health problems if suffered long run. Hyperstress. Hyperstress is the opposite of hyperstress. Hyperstress occurs when an individual is worried or unchallenged. People who experience hyperstress are often restless and uninspired. A factory worker who performs repetitive tasks might experience hyperstress. Now, a symptom of stress. Stress can have an effect on various aspects of life that includes behavior, cognition, emotions, as well as physical health. The stress will have a different effect on different individuals, and each individual reacts to stress in a different way. There are certain symptoms that can be related with stress. These are discussed as follows. Physical behavioral responses or warning signs of stress may include upset stomach and other digestive issues, including ulcer, appetite change, gas, diarrhea, and constipation, high blood pressure, sexual problems, sleeping problems, acne and pain, backaches, chest pain, migraine, headaches and eye pain, tiredness or exertion, change in appetite. Huh. Okay. Emotional social response to stress may include mental health issues such as depression, panic attack, or other forms of anxiety and worry, being critical of yourself or others, withdrawing from relationship or lacking in motivation, being newly fearful, jealous, guilty, or suspicious. Fearful might be saying mistakes, right? Feeling of worthlessness or low self in workplace or unable to sit still. Okay, now psychological symptoms. The cumulative symptoms related to stress include worrying constantly, experiencing racing thoughts, lack of organization and thinking, forgetting, not able to focus, lack of judgment or poor judgment, and also pessimism. Behavioral symptoms. The behavioral symptoms of stress include deterioration in performance, effectiveness, indulgence in substance use, prone to accident, nervous, manner, non-racing full-time management, displaying checking ritual, changing appetite, procrastination, eating faster, even talking or walking faster, impaired speech, and so on. Now let's look at the table. Okay, so the physical symptoms should be rapid pulse, pounding heart, increased perspiration, tension to form and laying muscles. Whoa, that's not good, I suppose. Shortness of breath, gritting of teeth, headache, indigestion, numbness, dry mouth, pain, cold sweat, abnormal cramps. Whoa, I checked so many boxes like rapid pulse, pounding heart, increased perspiration, tensing of arms and legs muscle, shortness of breath, gritting of teeth, headache, indigestion, numbness. I think that it wasn't worse without even treating it. So you have to treat it actually. You can't just let it be, and then over the period of time when it with time, on its own time, heals itself, it gets used to it, or maybe it deteriorates the physical health at the level that we actually need to get medication to help it better. Yeah. So psychologically it should be. The physical and psychological. So you're feeling upset, inability to concentrate, irritability, loss of self-control, confidence, very difficulty in making decisions, racing thoughts, sexual mindedness, emotional exaggeration, guilt, jealousy, shame, impatience, suicidal feelings, behavior, deterioration in performance, effectiveness, smoking, or use of alcohol or other recreational drugs, excellent chronics, nervous mannerism, food tapping, biting, increase or decrease eating, anorexia, increase or decrease sleeping, phobias, eating, walking, talking faster, quota management, impaired speech, checking rituals, how much I should be covering in this video. Okay, let's see. This whole one chapter alone is quite big. So about I'll be reading 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I shall be 17 pages I have to cover. I'll be covering 17 pages more in this video, and yeah, then I'll be saying bye to you guys. Okay, so the stress as such, the source of the stress can be categorized into three main categories, namely frustration, conflict, or motive, and pressure, common micro. Frustration can be described as appearing when a goal-oriented behavior of an individual is thwarted. Why? As stated by Munger, 1984, a wide range of environmental obstacles, both physical and social. The internal factor is a form of personal limitation, biological delusion, and psychological barrier due to frustration and common needs, motives, and efforts. For example, what we expect of promotion, however, when needed in order to the same case, experience frustration. Conflict of motives. The next source is conflict of motives that can cause stress as an individual has to choose between or related. And decision making in this regard can lead to a stress. Conflict of motive can be of four types, different types: approach conflict, avoidance conflict, avoidance conflict, double approach conflict. Approach conflict. In this type of conflict, the individual has to choose between the goals that are positive and are similar. For example, an individual may have to choose between two job opportunities. That is conflict of motive. Avoidance conflict. The next type of conflict of motive is avoidance conflict. Here again, there are two goals that are similar but as opposed to approach conflict. The goal here are negative. For example, an individual may have to take decision whether he also remain unemployed or take up a difficult job that she is not interested in. Wow, that's okay. Approach avoidance conflict. Here, there is a single goal which is both positive and negative. For example, an individual taking up a job workload may be excited about the opportunity but also has to face the fact that she will have to stay away from the family. Thus, this goal has both negative and positive consequences, and thus the individual may experience stress. Approach avoidance conflict. Multiple approach avoidance conflict. It may so happen that the conflict faced by us are quite complex and they are a combination of approach and avoidance conflict. In this conflict, the individual has to choose between the option that have both positive and negative consequences. For example, a student may have to choose between two educational opportunities, one of pursuing music that she is interested in, which will make her parents unhappy, And the other of pursuing engineering, which will make his her parents happy, but she is really not interested in. Pressure would be the last one. So we have frustration, conflict of motive, which have four divisions within it, and then third, the last one would be pressure. Pressure is yet another source of stress that can be external or internal. External pressure are pressure that could be as a result of demands from the environment, responsibilities and obligations that are mainly social in nature, as well as demands and expectations of the significant person in our life. We regard to internal pressure, number 194. State that internal pressure are caused by our own self for maintaining the picture of us, everything we could be, should be, we could and should be. An example of external pressure is when a child is pressurized by parents to do well in examination. And an example of internal pressure is when the child himself has feels that she needs to study and do well in exams. When any stress can be characterized in the above three sources. Thus, a person may experience stress due to more than one or all three sources of life. A specific source of stress, life event. Specific sources of stress, life events. Stress can be caused by due to varied life events. These could be that of a loved one, divorce or separation, losing one's job, marriage and so on. These could be termed as significant life events in one's life that may be pressure, that may put pressure on the adjustment and coping resources of the person as they expose the individual to certain new and unique challenges. These life events can lead to stress, which in turn can have a detrimental effect on the day-to-day functioning, as well as physical and psychological health of the individual. Daily hustles, similar to life events, daily hustle can also create stress. Limited regular time is uploaded, role, responsibility, and duties, and so on can lead to stress. Interpersonal relationship. Stress can also be caused due to issues related to interpersonal relationship. Interpersonal relationship could be in the context of family, work, or it could be with legal conflict could occur between individuals that can have an impact on interpersonal relationship, which in turn may lead to stress issues in interpersonal relationship, for instance, misunderstanding to work, can have negative impact on the physical and psychological well-being of the person. Stress as a result of social conditions. Social conditions in which the individual exists can also lead to development of stress. These social conditions can be related to crowding and discrimination, technological development and change, pollution and so on. The individual today exists in a world that is much more complex. There is a globalization, increased competition, environment, social pressures. Discuss about the way in which stress can be measured. Measurement of stress is being therapeutic, effective diagnosis of stress. There are various ways in which stress can be measured. These are the stresses for physiological measure. Physiological measure goes to three purposes of identifying the stress experience by the individual. The physiological response in terms of extreme blood pressure, rapid pulse rate, breathing rate, and so on can be measured to understand the stress experienced by the individual. This can be done by using various instruments. For instance, a photograph for the stress can also be measured with the help of biochemical measure of like cortisol and so on are released as stress is experienced. Physiological age seems to be factored into developing stress. There are a number of limitations. Firstly, physiological change may occur due to some other reason and not stress. Secondly, the whole process of taking physiological energy could create stress in the individual. As in the blood test is taken or when the individual is plugged in blood flow machine for the test results of the costly and time. Psychological testing. Psychological testing explained as another simple of psychological test would be self-report inventories. In self-report inventories, the individual is expected to provide response to certain statements and based on the response to the quotation needed. One main advantage of self-report inventory is that the individual will answer on his own, and as she is in a better position to understand the stress experience, she will be able to report adequately the symptoms of stress within each of the administration. Though there could be issues related to social desirability and individual may not understand the language which the text is available, which may not comprehend certain statements. Checklist can also be used to measure stress. For instance, a checklist can be used to measure life events. The individual is asked to check the major life events on the list. The individual is in the wrong in the period of time. The list of major events go through and individual would be information and major life events that can help collecting and maybe say the major life events could be important. The group immunity, the familiar or the war transfer. Islam. Any major event in one's life can put pressure on individuals living a species trying to address over situation. Also, if an individual is undergoing a number of major life events at the same time, the stress that he should experience and yet another method for measurement of stress is where that information is collected from the individual stress injury and structured also instructed where we have gotten to be method a lot of information can be collected. It is a very time consuming method as well as costly. Further interview needs to be adequately standard in interview language. Okay. I have a long way to go while studying. I will need to take a break, so I'll see you guys in a bit.